Hi, Jeremy here with MathomBooks. Today, I'm doing a battle between Lauren Oliver's Delirium and Veronica Roth's Divergent. So, I am going to be comparing these two books by 9 different categories. And category number 1 is, which book has a better cover, Delirium or Divergent? And I'm going based on the original hardcover covers. And here goes. The winner for the cover is Veronica Roth's Divergent. Now, I know this isn't the real cover, and it's a pretty pathetic version of it, but you guys have all seen the cover of Divergent. It's a pretty awesome cover, and quite frankly, the original cover of Delirium with the blue and the lettered, big letters going across the front, and you could kind of see a face in the background, it just didn't grab my attention as well as the cover for Divergent. Who do I think builds a better world? Lauren Oliver in Delirium. It's a world that's believable. You know, you have this procedure, this process that kind of affects the brain so that you can't feel the emotions of love because they want this kind of controlled society. And with the number of drugs that we take in this country, I'm talking about prescription drugs we get from doctors and from psychiatrists and all that, we're practically doing that now, right? So I think it's a fairly believable world to some extent. And I just think that her world makes more sense. In Divergent, Veronica Roth tries to build this world where there's, you know, these 5 different sections. Erudite, you know, are the intelligent ones. Dauntless are the fearless ones. And to me, it was all just kind of superficial, you know? You had the Dauntless running around, getting tattoos and fighting all the time, and it just didn't make much sense. What was their point? We were told that they were soldiers on the border, but we never saw them be soldiers on the border. It was like I thought the Dauntless were kind of pointless. I didn't understand what the training was for. And the Amity, they're nice and happy and friendly, and is that really it? Are these really ways we break down society? The next category is characterization. Which novel had better characters, more fully developed characters I cared about, more realistic characters? And the book that I think had the better characters and the better characterization was Delirium by Lauren Oliver. I felt that Lena, she was believable. You know, she wasn't like super gorgeous. She wasn't, you know, this in any way a perfect person. She was flawed. Hannah, her friend, had flaws, and yet, you know, we hear about this secret thing she's got going on. But yet, she's likable, and she's beautiful, and she's these things. Alex. Okay, fine. Maybe Alex was a little bit of an Edward Cullen. The next category that I'm looking at, comparing these two books, is plot. And the book that I think had the best plot or the better plot is... Actually, I'm going to give it a wash. Both of them. I thought the plot was interesting in both stories. Divergent, you know, you've got a pretty clear story going on. You know, the story of Triss as she has to find her way through this, you know, this new faction, and she's being trained and has to go through all these kind of challenges and trials. And, you know, it's exciting. It's moving along, you know, towards the great big thing that's happening at the end, you know, which I won't give away. And it was believable and fun in general, and I liked it. Delirium also had a really good plot. This story was also very understandable. You're just kind of following Lena through this process of where she's about to get this surgery. She believes in the surgery, but then, of course, as you can tell, she falls in love. The next category that I'm going to look at is romance. And which book do I think had the better romance, had a romance that was more realistic, more romantic? Delirium by Lauren Oliver, for sure. Lena, it's her first love. She hasn't been in love before. They're not allowed to be in love, you remember, in this society. And so Lauren Oliver tells this story of Lena, who is, you know, completely unexperienced around boys, and just to see how Alex and her interact in those first few stages, it's very, very beautiful. I thought Divergent on the romance part, the whole thing between Triss and Four, it just didn't do it for me. I saw it coming. I knew that Four was going to be her love interest, and I just wasn't all that excited by him. The next category that I'm looking at is going to be action. Which book did I think had more action, had better action, was more believable in that sense? Divergent by Veronica Roth. definitely had more action. There were some pretty intense and even brutal parts to this book. You've got her friend Christina getting the crap kicked out of her in a fight. You know, you've got guns being fired. You've got, Triss jumping in and out of moving trains, doing zip lines, some pretty crazy stuff. And now for the category, which book do I think has the better antagonist, the better villain, the better bad guy? Delirium. The antagonist, the villain in Delirium, is the government, right? It's this big, massive, powerful organization, which is what dystopian literature usually is all about, and it makes sense. The next category is writing quality, and I've got to give this one to Delirium by Lauren Oliver. The writing is just better. I'm sorry, guys, but it is. It's more descriptive, and she takes her time with her sentences. Days, the color of pale yellow and white pills. Days that have the same bitter aftertaste as medicine. Whereas Divergent, I felt like page after page after page, Veronica Roth was reminding me, you're reading a YA novel. And final category, the book that I think is the overall better book and the book I think you should go out and buy today and read is Delirium by Lauren Oliver. It's just a great book, you guys. It's a beautiful story. It's well told. It's high quality YA writing. I, in fact, give Delirium by Lauren Oliver the best YA dystopian novel of 2011. That's my take on it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope you guys actually read both books because I would love your comparison of Divergent and Delirium. You like my cover? Please leave your comments. Thank you for watching, and thank you for subscribing to MathomBooks.